Now, the 1960s was the decade that saw the face of rock music change forever. And amongst the pioneers, Syd Barrett from Cambridge, one of the founders of the legendary Pink Floyd.
But like so many others of his generation, drugs took their toll and he vanished into obscurity. He died a virtual recluse in his home city 2 years ago.
But he's not been forgotten. In fact, this autumn sees the launch of the Syd Barrett Trail around his old Cambridge haunts. Matthew Hudson went along to find out more.
Emily tries but misunderstands.
For more than 20 years, he was one of Cambridge's most famous but most elusive residents. Syd Barrett, leader of the original Pink Floyd, when the band was about as hip as it was possible to be. Like Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, he became one of the great lost rock stars of the 60s. The difference was that until 2 years ago, Syd Barrett was still very much alive.
In the mid-1960s, Syd Barrett was already a familiar face on the Cambridge music scene when he teamed up with Nick Mason, Rick Wright and Roger Waters to form what would become one of the biggest bands in the world. But when he returned to Cambridge in the early 1980s, it was to live as an almost total recluse. His mental health problems were blamed on his massive intake of hallucinogenic drugs over a number of years.
This autumn, fans have a chance to take guided tours of the Cambridge Syd knew as an aspiring rock star, part of a major tribute to Syd entitled The City Wakes. The old mill area was a regular haunt for Syd and other what in those days were called beatniks.
I've been listening to a lot of the music that obviously was recorded years and years ago, and yes, a lot of us who of course knew early Pink Floyd, and some of us are old enough to have been around at the time, but yeah, we've all reconnected with him in a big way.
Of course, in over 40 years, much has changed in the city.
Well, this may be Waterstone's bookshop today, but back in 1964, this was the Dorothy Ballroom, a major part of Cambridge social life.